Hey everybody, welcome to the Mana Leak. I'm John as always, and it's day 3 of the Aether Revolt set review. That means that it is time for the black set review. We're going to go through every single black card in the set and see how they look. Now, of course, there are the 3 quick disclaimers. This is a limited set review. I'm not talking about constructed or anything like that. These are simply my first impressions on the set. I've not played with the cards. These are how I'm going to approach these cards for the next few weeks until I learn better, and I might learn better. And of course, number 3, these are only my opinions. Never, ever, ever take a set review as the gospel truth. I don't care who it is telling you what the grades are. Don't just believe them. Think about them. Talk about them. Take them under advisement. You might be wrong. I might be wrong. Everybody might be wrong. Who knows? Anyways, we're going to jump right on into the first card. Up first is Aether Poisoner. Aether Poisoner is 1 and a black for a creature, human artificer at common. She's a 1/1. She has Death Touch. When Aether Poisoner enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy, and whenever Aether Poisoner attacks, you may pay 2 energy. If you do, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. This, of course, is the black Aether creature, and it might be my favorite, and that's still not saying much. It's a 1/1 Death Touch. I prefer my 1/1 Death Touch creatures to cost 1 mana. But 2 mana is still fine. Remember, we did have Rancid Rats in Shadows, and it was totally fine as a 1/1 for 2. It had Skulk, but honestly, attacking wasn't really its big thing. Again, there's no reason to be attacking with this at all. So I don't even get why you would care about making a servo on this. You have a 1/1 Death Toucher because you basically want to say, hey, opponent, you're not going to attack me. You're not going to attack me for a while. It's totally pointless. You may as well consider this to be flavor text after getting 2 energy. Still, I'd totally play it. It's leagues ahead of the other 2 that we've looked at in the cycle so far. Still not a high pick, but an all right enough mid-pack pick, and something you'll generally play and feel pretty fine about. It's just a C, just a straight-up C for Aether Poisoner. It's probably the best of this cycle, unfortunately. Up next is Alley Strangler. Alley Strangler is 2 and a black for a creature, Aetherborn Rogue at common. It's got Menace, and it's a 2/3, and that's about it, and that seems fine. I prefer a 3/2, obviously, as a 2/3 for 3 isn't exactly an aggro all-star, and having Menace, it wants to be aggressive. Still, this is a, creature that's tricky to block for a little bit, and it may be one of the common Aetherborn that you want for a card that we'll talk a little bit later in this video about. Probably just a fillerish C, though. It's fine. It's much better if it was a 3/2. Straight up C for Alley Strangler. Battle at the Bridge is next. It's X and a black for a sorcery at rare. It has Improvise, so you can use your artifacts to pay for it. Target creature gets -X until end of turn. You gain X life. This just seems like really solid removal. At 6 mana, and obviously less if you use your artifacts to pay for that 6, this kills basically anything in limited, anything that hasn't had auras thrown on it or counters or, I guess maybe not a 7/11 vehicle, for example. But still, kills basically everything. Getting life off the exchange is a great upside as well. Sorcery speed hurts a little bit. Absolutely hurts, it doesn't hit vehicles because of that. And so this doesn't quite go into the A range for me, but it's going to be a B+. It's going to be a solid B+. I'd still willingly first pick this and main deck it every single time. B+ for me. You know what? I'll even go for an A-, despite it being sorcery speed. A- for Battle at the Bridge. Cruel Finality is up next. Cruel Finality is 2 and a black for an instant at common. Target creature gets -2 until end of turn. Scry 1. This is instant speed, dead weight, plus a scry, basically, and sign me up for that. 3 mana is slightly costly to be hitting X2s. We usually do that for 1 mana, sometimes for 2. But the upside of doing it post-combat is pretty darn big. And of course, scrying is an awesome tack on. I'll take this pretty highly. First pick it in some packs, not all the packs. It's not premium removal, but it is still fine enough sort of early removal. It's kind of in the B- area for me. So Cruel Finality, B-. Daring Demolition is next. Daring Demolition is 2 black for a sorcery at common. Destroy target creature or vehicle, period. That's it. This is just straight up unconditional removal. I don't remember the last time that we've seen unconditional removal at common for 4 mana, even at sorcery speed like this one is. Sorcery speed does hurt it, as I've talked about a bunch of times. But 4 mana, you're going to play almost all of these that you can get your hands on. First pickable, I'm not 100% certain, but in weak packs guaranteed first pickable, and even in a lot of packs with potentially competing removal, I think you still might first pick this card. I think it's very, very solid, high pick, blows up a vehicle, doesn't even have to be a turned on vehicle, which is great. It's not splashable, which is a pain, but I'm still very happy to see this, and I feel like the blue-black control plan is very much alive, which I alluded to yesterday. I'm going to go for a B+ on Daring Demolition. Up next is Defiant Salvager. Defiant Salvager is 2 and a black for a creature Aetherborn Artificer at common. It's a 2/2. Sacrifice an artifact or creature. Put a +1/+1 counter on Defiant Salvager. Activate this ability only any time you could cast a sorcery. This seems like potentially an under-the-radar, totally solid card, but there is a lot of removal kicking around. A 2/2 for 3 that can quickly add counters shouldn't be undersold. But the lack of being able to do this at instant speed means it does just die to shock immediately. Hell, it even dies to shock after you try to put the first counter on it if they respond to that. Lacking evasion also makes this a little bit less good. I'm still willing to go absolutely at a C+ at a minimum. I don't think it's any lower than a C+, but I would be careful about throwing too much into this guy. It's entirely possible that it just gets removed somehow, and not only do you lose your creature, you lose everything you sacrificed to it. Still, I'm going to keep my eyes on it. I think it could fly under the radar. I'm going to go C+ at a minimum for Defiant Salvager. Up next is a card you've probably heard about, Fatal Push. It's a single black mana for an instant at uncommon. Destroy target creature if it has converted mana cost 2 or less. If you've revolted that turn, you can blow up a 4 or less creature instead. Now, very importantly, the way this is worded, you target a creature, and then after the spell has resolved, it checks to see if you have revolt. So you can target a 4 mana cost creature and then have something leave the battlefield if that is in any way relevant for you. You don't have to target a 2 if you haven't revolted just yet. But of course, if you end up not revolting, then the spell just fizzles. Well, it doesn't fizzle, it resolves and does nothing. Anyways, you've heard about this because everybody is freaking out about this card, thinking it is going to be the absolute most amazing addition to every format ever. And yeah, it's going to do some good work over in those constructed formats. However, I do think people are ever so slightly overselling this card for limited. It's still good. It's still real good. Don't get me wrong. But I think people are getting a little bit too entwined thinking constructed playable means limited playable. Or constructed quality means limited quality. I don't want to in any way suggest this is not playable. Killing a 2 or less CMC creature for a single black mana is totally fine at instant speed. You can use this relatively early if you're a super aggressive deck and you just need to get their bear off the battlefield to get through more and more and more damage. It's not amazing and not a high pick at 2. The revolting version of this is definitely a hell of a lot nicer. I still have no clue how Revolt's going to play out, but I do have a feeling that the instant speed Revolt spells are going to be the best. It's just like Morbid and Innistrad. Things like Tragic Slip were amazing because there's so many instances where a creature dies. Your creature dies. Your opponent uses removal, you lose in combat, you chump block, you do a million different things that causes a creature to go away on your turn or their turn. And then suddenly you're pushing something off a cliff. I think the other important part of this is that it does hit 4, which is a lot of important things in this. We'll talk about a train that I think is going to be the most oppressive, obnoxious card in this entire set. But it dies to this, it gets pushed off the cliff. So I think Fatal Push is good. I don't think it's quite as amazing as everybody's saying for limited. Don't yell at me about constructed. I know it's amazing and constructed. I'm going to go with a B. Don't get me wrong. This is still first pickable, and there's probably going to be a little bit of value attached to it, especially if it's a foil version. But I don't think it's like an all-star A+ or anything like that. I'm going to go with a B on Fatal Push. Yeah, totally fine. Just not as amazing as people think for limited. Up next is Fenhauler. Fenhauler is 6 and a black for a creature insect at common. It's a 5/5, it has Improvise, and Fenhauler can't be blocked by artifact creatures. This is a lot of mana pre-Improvise. I want at least a 2 mana discount on this, or else I am 100% out on this giant bug thing. I don't know that I can guarantee that. I don't know that I can guarantee a 2 mana discount on this reliably, so I think I'm just out on the card. Way too slow, and even if you quote-unquote get there, if you get this down a few turns early, you have what, a 5/5 that can be blocked by everything except for artifact creatures. It doesn't have trample. It doesn't have anything on it. Nothing going for it. That's not for me. I'm going to go with a C- on this. I'm going to cut this very, very regularly. Up next is Foundry Hornet. Foundry Hornet is 3 and a black for a creature insect at uncommon. It's a 2/3. It has flying. And when Foundry Hornet enters the battlefield, if you control a creature with a +1/+1 counter on it, creatures your opponents control get -1/-1 until end of turn. This seems alright, but not spectacular. It's 4 mana for a big-butted Windrake, which is not exciting, especially in a format where we have a Windrake for normal cost with a big butt, plus Windrake, plus a white Windrake. It's fine still. Like, I'd play it if I absolutely had to as a filler creature. The ability, -1/-1 at sorcery speed, is typically a sideboard card ability or spell. When you see an aggressive X1 deck or a heavy servo deck, you might side it in. But this doesn't even consistently get you that ability. You have to have a counter on something else already. I think this is probably just filler on the stats, and the ability is ever so slightly better, but I'm not really looking to play this card. I'm not going to take it very highly, and I'll probably cut it pretty liberally. There's just better cards out there, so C- for me. 4th Bridge Prowler is up next. We saw a 9th Bridge Patrol, now we've seen a 4th Bridge Prowler. It's a single black mana for a creature human rogue at common. It's a 1/1. When 4th Bridge Prowler enters the battlefield, you may have target creature get -1/-1 until end of turn. Maybe I'm bringing this in from a sideboard if there was an X1 that I was super terrified of and for some reason couldn't kill it, which seems very strange. I just don't see that ever happening. I'm pretty out on this. I don't expect to ever play it. I don't think you should ever play it. I think it's just a straight up F. I see zero reason why this card should ever be in a deck. Up next is Gifted Aetherborn. Gifted Aetherborn is 2 black mana for a creature Aetherborn vampire at uncommon. It's a 2/3, it has Death Touch, and it has Lifelink. I did some searching on Gatherer, and we have exactly 1 card to compare these stats and abilities to, and that, of course, is Vampire Nighthawk, which was 1 black for a 2/3 Death Touch Lifelink vampire that had flying. Now, that was one of the best limited creatures ever. Absolutely, ever. Honestly, the flying was a huge part of it. It's a reason why Aerial Responder, which people called Vampire Whitehawk, was so good in Kaladesh. The lifelink flying ability at 1 white with a 2/3 is just super solid. Losing the flying does knock this down a peg. Yeah, it's a mana cheaper, but that's not quite enough. Now, it doesn't knock it too far down. Death Touch Lifelink on a 2/3 for 2 is still pretty darn solid. It lives past Shock, it lives past Cruel Finality, it lives past a lot of the things that do 2 damage to stuff. So this is still probably going to be pretty darn solid. It's going to convince your opponent to not attack into you, to not even do a chump check, because the creature's just going to die and you're going to gain life. But this doesn't get through like a Vampire Nighthawk or a Vampire Whitehawk would. Of course, as well, be careful about that black cost. You are not splashing for this. You are not playing this in a low black, low swamp count deck either. It's still pretty good. I'm still going to give it a B-. I still think it's a relatively high pick, but it is not Vampire Nighthawk, so keep that in mind. B- for Gifted Aetherborn. Glint Sleeve Siphoner is up next. Glint Sleeve Siphoner is 1 and a black for a creature human rogue at rare. She's a 2/1 with Menace, and whenever Glint Sleeve Siphoner enters the battlefield or attacks, you get 1 energy. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may pay 2 energy. If you do, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. Absolutely playable. Not sure if it's first pickable over bombs and removal. A 2/1 for 2 is aggressive, but it's only fine. It's playable, but fine. As long as it survives a single attack, though, you are drawing a card because, of course, you got an energy when she came in, you got an energy when she attacked. And at that point, she's really kind of starting to do herself. Now, black wasn't necessarily known for being a big energy color in Kaladesh, and I don't think it's going to be a huge energy producer in Aether Revolt either. So you're not necessarily going to be so energy flush that you can just sit back and throw 2 energy away every single turn and just draw cards and laugh your way to victory. So I would make sure that you do keep that in mind. Glint Sleeve Siphoner most certainly wants to be in a very aggressive deck with some removal. Odds are just pure on black-red, hit them in the face, and draw 3 cards so that you keep your hand full and finish the game early. I think she's fantastic. I think she's always playable. I think she's highly pickable. I don't know that I'd take her over removal or, a foil super bomb or anything like that, but I think she is pretty darn solid. So I'm going to go with a solid B for Glint Sleeve Siphoner. Next up is Gonti's Machinations. Gonti's Machinations is a single black mana for an enchantment at uncommon. Whenever you lose life for the first time each turn, you get 1 energy. Pay 2 energy, sacrifice Gonti's Machinations. Each opponent loses 3 life. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. This is a lot of setup and a card spent to set up a single, one-time, 3 life drain. I am 100% out. I don't think you should ever waste a card on this. It's so low impact for how much work you have to put into this. I'm out. Totally out. F-. I don't think you should ever touch this card. Next up is a big one, Herald of Anguish. Herald of Anguish is 5 black for a creature demon at Mythic. It's a 5/5. It's got Improvised to make it a bit cheaper. It has Flying. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent discards a card, and you can pay 1 and a black and sacrifice an artifact to give target creature -2/-2 until end of turn. Now, 7 mana for a 5/5 flyer is not unheard of, but like the Angel in white, this will require the format to slow down slightly to be super playable at that cost. Now, luckily, this guy can come down earlier if you've played some artifacts, which black, I think, is generally going to be wanting to do. Similar to black-white in Kaladesh and black-red in Kaladesh, I think black in Aether Revolt wants artifacts just as badly. So if you can get 2 mana discount on this, it becomes pretty darn solid. 5 mana for a 5/5 flyer with all of that on it. Very, very good. The 5/5 flying body is already great, but making your opponent slowly pitch away their hand and being able to deadweight things by sacking your less than great artifacts is a great way to clear the skies. I think that this is an easy snap first pick. It just misses the A+ status because of the non-improvised cost. Make absolute sure that you do have a good number of artifacts, and this is an easy A+. So, solid A for Herald of Anguish. Up next is Ironclad Revolutionary. Ironclad Revolutionary is 4 black for a creature Aetherborn Artificer at uncommon. It's a 4/4. When Ironclad Revolutionary enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice an artifact. If you do, put 2 +1/+1 counters on Ironclad Revolutionary, and each opponent loses 2 life. This just seems not great to me. It's a 4/4 for 6, which is absolutely not out of the question, not touching it. Now, if we have an artifact that we feel like throwing away, we get a 6/6 with no evasion whatsoever. It's just a dumb 6/6 for 6, and an opponent loses 2 life. That is not great to me. I really don't see a reason to play this card. It just seems so bad. I mean, if you are totally flush with artifacts, sure, you get yourself a 6/6 for 6, but that is not usually that exciting. This just seems like a bad way to enable Revolt as well, because you're paying 6 mana, so you're not going to cast anything else. I don't know. I'm out on this card. I think it's just, frankly, bad. I'm going with a D on it. Maybe there's some weird combo or something that works with this, but I do not see it. So Ironclad Revolutionary gets a D. Midnight Entourage is up next. Midnight Entourage is 2 black for a creature Aetherborn Rogue at rare. It's a 3/3, and it's an Aetherborn Lord, because all other Aetherborn you control get +1/+1. Whenever Midnight Entourage or another Aetherborn you control dies, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. So this is a Hill Giant. It's a 3/3 for 4, which is fine, kind of filler level. Slightly hard to cast, being 2 black is a little bit worse, but replacing itself with a card at the loss of a life is pretty darn solid, just kind of by itself. The Aetherborn Lord side of this, I don't know how it's going to work out. There's a lot of Aetherborn in this set. There's somewhat less, of course, in Kaladesh. There's Lawless Broker, Weaponcraft Enthusiast, Ambitious Aetherborn, the flying guy that takes counters, and I think that might be about it at common and uncommon. There's more common and uncommon here, but they're kind of boring. Like Alley Strangler, I gave a C to. Defiant Salvager, I gave a C+. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that they're all playable. They're all fine filler cards. But if you tack +1/+1 onto them, well, they become pretty darn decent. But they don't get +1/+1 because this card's in your deck. You have to find and play this card for these cards to go from being to being, hey, you're okay, you're good. And I don't know about that. That seems a little bit risky, playing bad cards, waiting to get this one card. I still think this card's solid on its own. On its own, I would probably give it a C+, I think. And the fact that you can definitely stock your deck with Aetherborn, whether or not that's the right decision, I'm not sure, will knock this up to a B-, I think. I think it's fine. And of course, if you pack one, pick one this, you can definitely build around it. However, I would never take this over removal. It's just not that great. So B- for Midnight Entourage. Well, speaking of Aetherborn, we've got one here. Night Market Aeronaut is next. Night Market Aeronaut is 3 and a black for a creature Aetherborn Warrior at common. It's a 2/2 flyer. It has Revolt. Night Market Aeronaut enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it if you revolted this turn. All right. You know, this is fine-ish. I don't super want to pay 4 mana for a 2/2. Especially when we've got 2 3s for 3 running around, and of course 2 2s for 3 running around. So the unrevolted side of this is like filler / you should probably cut it a little bit more than you should play it. The revolting side of it is fine, you know, it's fine enough. I still wouldn't play this above filler level though. I'm not really a big fan of this. The hoops you have to jump through to make this into a 3/3 flyer for 4 just doesn't super seem worth it to me. I'm at a C- on Night Market, Night Market Aeronaut. It just seems like too little unless you jump through a bunch of poops or get lucky with quote unquote lucky with one of your creatures dying or something that turn. So C- for Night Market Lookout. Take it pretty darn late, and you should probably cut it a fair bit. Perilous Predicament is up next. Perilous Predicament is 4 and a black for an instant at uncommon. Each opponent sacrifices an artifact creature and a non-artifact creature. So this is 5 mana for an instant speed Barter in Blood, which was 2 black. Each opponent sacks 2 creatures. And sorcery speed. It's not that much better. Edict effects generally aren't great unless they're instant speed and super cheap. You know, like Diabolic Edict is okay, and that's 1 and a black to sack 1 creature. This is instant speed, but it's not cheap in any way, shape, or form. In addition, it only hits 1 creature if your opponent is mono non-artifact creatures or mono artifact creatures. You know, if your opponent has nothing but servos, A, you're probably doing fine. But B, you're only going to kill 1 servo. If your opponent has no artifact creatures down, which is entirely possible, they only have to sack 1 creature. And of course, with edict effects like this, allowing your opponent to choose what creature dies is always pretty rough because, of course, they're going to choose the servo instead of the Gear Hulk or whatnot. This just seems really overcosted. I'm going to take this really late and probably just not play it on the regular at all. I am at a D- on Perilous Predicament. I don't like it at all. I think it's a trap. Yeah, I'm not touching it. I don't think you should either. Renegade's Getaway is next. Renegade's Getaway is 2 and a black for an instant at common. Target permanent gains indestructible until end of turn. Create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. That servo is adorable. I love this art. Almost guaranteed to be on my top 10 art list later in the set. Unfortunately, not that great of a card. 3 mana for indestructible and a 1/1. That's not really exciting at all. I like my indestructible combat tricks to give the creature lifelink or to give them a power boost or something so that they're going to kill whatever the opponent was swinging in with and live through it. Getting just indestructible and nothing other than a servo, that's not really exciting to me. I'm on a D+ on Renegade's Getaway. If I have a spot, if I need a 23rd card, I'll put it in, I guess, but I'm not really going to go out of my way to play this or actively seek it out in a pack. This should be pretty darn late. Resourceful Return is next. Resourceful Return is 1 and a black for a sorcery at common. Return target creature from your graveyard to your hand. If you control an artifact, draw a card. We've talked to death that I don't super care about this effect unless it's instant speed or repeatable or attached to a creature or etc. This is cheap, but it's sorcery speed. It's not getting you anything other than a card if you have an artifact. So I'm not super excited about this. I'm putting it at a C-. For those who do like this effect more than me, it's still probably only a C at a maximum. But for me, it's a C-. I'm going to cut this and probably just not play it very regularly at all. Resourceful return, C-. Secret Salvage is up next. Secret Salvage is 3 black for a sorcery at rare. Exile target non-land card from your graveyard. Search your library for any number of cards with the same name as that card. Reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your library. Nope. Absolute straight F-. Do not play this card. The odds of you having multiple cards is already really low. The odds of you having multiple cards that you want to spend 5 mana on at sorcery speed to go and get? Absolutely not. This should be a last pick. You should never, ever, ever have this card in your deck. F. Sly Requisitioner is up next. Sly Requisitioner is 4 and a black for a creature, human artificer at uncommon. She's a 2/2. She has improvise, and whenever a non-token artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. This seems alrightish, but like many improvise creatures, she's just too much without improvise. She's a 5 mana 2/2 without improvise that gets you a servo now and then, which on turn 5 and later, who cares about a servo? It's something, but it's not great. Ultimately, I think I'm just going to go with a C on it. Even if you do get this out, 2 turns early is probably the maximum. You know, you're not, unless you're going wide on Ornithopters or something like that, you're just not going to have enough artifacts to pull this down super early. It's just, it's too unimpactful for me to have a 2/2 that pumps out 1/1s when my real non-servo, non-Thopter artifacts are dying. I'm not super excited by her. I'm going with a C. I'll keep an eye on her because, you know, generating a whole bunch of servos could be good, but I don't see it. C for Sly Requisitioner. Up next is Vengeful Rebel. Vengeful Rebel is 2 and a black for a creature, Aetherborn Warrior at uncommon. It's a 3/2. It has Revolt. When Vengeful Rebel enters the battlefield, if a permanent you controlled left the battlefield this turn, target creature an opponent controls gets -3/-3. This seems fine. It's a 3/2 for 3, which is filler level. We'd obviously prefer a 3/3 for 3, but 3/2 for 3 is much more common than getting the vanilla test passing 3/3. The ability, though, is fairly powerful. If you can trigger Revolt, this could be a powerful early play to clear the way for your aggressive creatures. I'm still cautious on Revolt's consistency, especially on creatures. I think instants are where you're almost always going to be able to use them with Revolt, and creatures are where you're possibly not going to play them with Revolt. So at a bare minimum, this is totally playable. As a 3/2 for 3, it's a C. It's not exciting in any way, shape, or form. It's a card that could be, you know, other things totally fine. You can cut it, you know, or leave it in and feel fine either way. But with the ability, if you can reliably trigger Revolt, this should jump up a little bit more. But I'm going to start it at a C+. If Revolt is way more consistent than I'm expecting on creatures, then this could be like a B- or so. But let's start with a C+. Our second last card is Yahini, Undying Partisan. Yahini, Undying Partisan is 2 and a black for a legendary creature, Aetherborn Vampire at rare. Yahini's a 2/2. They have haste. Whenever a creature an opponent controlled dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Yahini, Undying Partisan, and sacrifice another creature. Yahini gains indestructible until end of turn. Yahini looks amazing for limited. It's slightly outside bomb territory just because it is a 2/2 to start. So, you know, it can just be shocked, although you can hopefully sack something and give it indestructible and prevent that. But it is still first pickable and very solid. It dodges removal really well, and if you can get a counter or 2 on it, it's just going to start to become a huge problem for your opponent. Being able to trigger Revolt by having a free sack outlet is great as well. As I've talked about, I want my sack outlets to be free. This one's free, not sack outlets, but Revolt enablers, of which a sack outlet would be. I really like this. I think Yahini is just a snap first pick. I think they're slightly outside of Super Bomb A territory, just because they do start out as a 2/2. You have to build them up a bit, but I'm going to go with an A- for Yahini, Undying Partisan. Our final card for black is Yahini's Expertise. Yahini's Expertise is 2 black for a sorcerer at rare. All creatures get -3/-3 until end of turn. You may cast a card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. I'm not sure on this one. The black -3/-3 or -2/-2 spells that we've seen in the past 4 or 5 years have never really been great in limited, despite being quite decent in standard, at least as a sideboard option, if not a main deck. This one lets you wrath some segment of the board, including your own, hopefully, and then drop a 3-drop creature, which would be nice. It gets you right back in the game, whereas your opponent has to, wait for their turn to build back up. Or it potentially lets you cast another removal spell or a burn spell or something to finish off the bigger creatures that have been brought down to size. Still, it'll probably just be middling in like many similar spells of sets gone by, so I'm slightly low on Yahini's expertise for limited. As always, if you're playing this, make sure that you do play smart. Don't run your creatures out into it. Keep them back. Take some extra damage. Make your opponent think that you're stumbling. Then hit this, kill everything, and then get back into the game with your handful of cards that you've kept back. So make sure that you are playing smart if you do play this. I'm not 100% sure where I want to put this. If this was just the first part without the free card, we're looking at like a C, maybe even a C-, maybe a C+, depends on how you play or what decks are supported. With the free card, this definitely has to jump up a fair bit. So I'm going to go with a B- on this, but I'm really uncertain about it just because of how historically middling these cards have been in limited. So B- for Yahini's expertise. I'm going to keep an eye on it for sure, though. That's going to wrap it up for the Black set review. Black looks interesting. There are a lot of decent cards in here that I'm excited to play. Unfortunately, a lot of them are mythic and rare, like the Demon or the Battle of the Bridge. I love solid removal like that. But at common and uncommon, we have crazy removal. We have Fatal Push. We have Cruel Finality. We have the other one. I'm looking for it right now. Daring Demolition. We've got Yahini. We've got some cool stuff going on here. I'm excited to play black, and as I've talked about, I want to play blue-black control. I want to play a deck full of that common and uncommon black removal and the decent blue counter spells and stuff that we have, and then I don't know, a demon at the top end or Tezzeret or something like that. I'm really hoping that deck exists. Let me know what you think of black. Let me know what your favorite cards are in the comments below. Talk about the ratings. Talk amongst yourselves. Interact with each other. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can find me on Twitter at The Mana Leak. That's L-E-E-K, like the vegetable, not the card. You can also find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/TheManaLeak, facebook.com/TheManaLeak. And if you want to become a patron and become a backer, there are various reward tiers there. You can head on over to patreon.com/TheManaLeak. Make sure you click that like button if you enjoy the content. Likes actually are super, super helpful. They help my videos appear to people who aren't subscribed so that the video or the channel can continue to grow. So click that like button if you do enjoy the content and you want other people to see it. Click subscribe if you haven't already so that you can always keep up to date on these videos. And if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, see y'all tomorrow for the red set review.